Okay, so here's a little rundown of all the parts we've got for Gary's M5 S38. So first we've got our adapter that will plug into the factory harness, and then obviously this end will plug into the new ECU, which we use the Ecumaster Classic. Now I've added a few extra leads on this adapter. This one will be for the intake flap. That's been repurposed. It was originally an air temp, but we've got air temp in the factory harness. We're adding flex fuel, so that will be for the fuel flex fuel sensor. We obviously have wideband, come standard on all our adapters, and TPS. Now I've depinned all these so that we can run the wires through the factory boot without having to cut it. Then we've got our cam sensor kit with a VR type sensor. Now this sensor with this pickup will again plug straight into the factory harness, and all the wires are there through the adapter already, so we'll be able to get full sequential injection. Next up we've got our coil harness. Now we've got power. I'll bolt that to the original coil wire and we'll heat shrink over it. This is our earth wire that'll go to the standard earth, where all the factory harness earth, the standard earth pin. And then we've got our coil plugs. Now this will feed through the boot in the engine bay, and then we'll terminate those into the plugs once we install it into the car. And we have TPS adapter, so we can run an e34 TPS. That'll standard fit on the standard throttles. And then we have our VW coils or Audi coils. Now we need to do a little bit of a modification to these. The factory ones aren't quite long enough, so we have a little extension like this that fits in. But once that fits in, you get the spark will arc across onto the housing. So we trim the housing back a bit by just cutting this little extra length off, and then I've got these little boots here which we grind down a little bit and then insert into the end, so it ends up looking like this. So that that then insulates the spark plugs when they fit in. And the last thing we do is we want to make sure we have a spark plug that has an R in the part number. That indicates there's a resistor inside. And when you're running coil on plug, it's a requirement to have a resistor, otherwise you get a lot of high frequency feedback through the wiring harness. The factory harness obviously has the ignition leads, which are quite long, and they're usually a carbon lead that has resistance, so it's not required to have the resistor in the plugs. But when you're running coil on plug, to keep the ECU happy and other things around the harness, we need a plug with a resistor on it. So anyway, that's all the parts. I'll next move to installing it all and give you an update as we go.